What a game one it was last night of the Eastern Conference Finals. Inside TD Garden in Boston, the Celtics hosting the Indiana Pacers. And yesterday, as we previewed the game, DRS, our coach, JY James Young, did say maybe Indiana carries over the momentum from a Game 7 victory on the road inside Madison Square Garden to the other garden in Beantown and could be live to steal one. But the odds makers did not agree. 10-point number in favor of Boston. Total of 222. The Celtics, in every one of their home games, make it number 7 in this postseason run last night, have been booked as at least a double-digit favorite. 13 points or greater prior to game number 1 last night. And from the very start, it seemed like the Celtics would make good on that large spread. They jump out to a 12-zip lead over Indiana, but the Pacers battle back. They keep it close. Then Boston starts to pull away again in the third quarter. They had as many as a 15-point lead late in the third before the Pacers rally once more. Having a lead, 117-114, under 10 seconds remaining in regulation. Then a costly inbounds pass from Andrew Nembhard goes off Pascal Siakam. So the Celtics have an opportunity, and Jaylen Brown takes advantage, drilling a corner three. We got the elusive double bang out of Mike Breen. It forces overtime at 117 all, and in OT, Boston prevails in game number 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals with a 133-128 victory. Yes, Indiana does cover as your double-digit dog, and a total of 222. Sky's way over, but it was over in regulation as well.
I got to tell you, we'll get to some of the player performances here, which I think we were pretty much spot on most of those. But the way this game ended, you take a look at just a rebound by Indiana. You get the foul call. Now, it's a shame they weren't in the bonus just yet under 2 minutes, because I would have went to the free throw line for 2 free throws. You make 1, the game is over. But you still had a side-out inbounds. How many times do we talk about this, Ben? Anybody growing up has played any, recreational basketball who had a coach. In those instances, you never want to throw the basketball backcourt. Now, granted, I understand they were in the backcourt, but hear me out on this, where you're going towards your own basket, which you saw Siakam do, knocks it out of bounds, which keeps it there. If you would have thrown the basketball across half court and it got deflected away, the clock is running, you could still set up your defense, and then you would have enough time to say, okay, by the time they cross half court, 6 seconds left, they pull up around 3, then is the time you foul, and you still were able to win that basketball game. It was a disastrous play call here, drawn up, which allowed that to happen and gave the Celtics the chance to shoot a 3-point shot from the quarter.
Yeah.
How simple. We're not even talking about hey, we had a tough execution play. Get the ball inbounds and you win the basketball game. They couldn't do that. And I couldn't understand the play call, and where it ended up was, let me just throw it to Siakam on the run, and he knocks it out of bounds himself. That was a disaster.
And Jaylen Brown was the one who caused the pass breakup, only to pay it off with that made corner three to force overtime at 117 apiece. And right before Andrew Nembhard tried to inbound the basketball, you heard from the game broadcast, the Pacers do have a timeout if things get a little bit dicey. They did not elect to take that timeout. And DRS, it's the age-old debate that you'll see on many sports talk shows throughout this day. When a basketball team is up 3, do they decide to foul on the defensive end of the floor? For the theatrics of it all, I'm against it. Let a team put up a buzzer beater or a game-tying shot to see if we get overtime, to see if we get a victory. But last night, Rick Carlisle elects to not foul. Pascal Siakam got close, backed off, and Jaylen Brown converts with that made corner three. What did you make of Rick Carlisle's decision for Indiana to not foul up 3 in the final 10 seconds?
I'm with you on that, but we always usually look at this in college basketball terms. I foul every single time, but particularly when you're at that point, Ben, where it's under 5 seconds, because typically you don't see the way that play was called out. It's usually the other team, Ben, inbounding the ball on their own baseline, dribbling all the way up court, running more time down, and the minute they cross over half court, you foul them. You don't even let them get into position, but where the Celtics were inbounding the basketball, they were already in position. So it's sort of tricky, and also, when we equate it to college basketball, to the pros, what don't we have in college basketball? the continuation foul. It's a little bit more dicey to foul in a three-point shot because you know they're going to foul. So just make a shooting motion, and they will count that as an attempt at a three-point shot, and you shoot 3 threes from the free throw line. It was a ridiculously tough three-point shot, but it is kind of interesting where I usually would foul, but I would have liked to see the clock 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, a little bit less. Then the game, for all intents and purposes, would be over. It was a great shot that Jaylen Brown hit, but I don't even look at that, Ben. It's like, boy, you should have just fouled up 3. Call the timeout, inbound the ball, or even, Ben, worst case scenario, nobody's open. Throw the basketball into the front court so they have to actually go get it and then dribble the length of the court and pull up a ridiculous running three-point shot, even if you don't foul there. Just a disastrous inbound play, which cost the Pacers the game.
In college hoops, completely agree. You also are not entirely sure who that free throw shooter is going to be, if he's even going to make 2 of them to keep the game close as you hope to extend. And in the NBA, you inbound from the front court, as DRS just said, not having to go the full length like you do in college basketball. So the Boston Celtics, who have had home floor advantage throughout this playoff run and would into the NBA Finals as well, it's been a key metric, Donnie, we have looked at. They are now 42-6 straight up inside TD Garden all season long, 25, 21, and 2 against the spread, 5 and 2 straight up in playoff action. Now just 3 and 4 against the number, though, however, inside TD Garden. Pace was up last night in regulation as Indiana kept things close as a double-digit underdog. Over in 9 of 14 games now for the Pacers in this playoff run, but Indiana just 2 and 6 straight up away from Indianapolis.
Yeah, they and again, we just get back to the point opening the show. You can't even say like, hey, it was a hard-fought loss that we have. We're going to be right in this series. It's a lot different of a perspective to look at that when you had the lead and should have won the basketball game. It wasn't a late three-point shot by the Pacers to draw within 5 points on the final. It was the fact that you should have won that game. You should have all that momentum moving forward, and now you have to sit back and say, what more can we do here? I don't know, execute your plays and don't turn the basketball over. But the one thing that was true last night, we got a lot of points. I'm expecting points in this series, which is great for prop betting, so I'm enjoying it.
We'll look at some of the player performances and now the updated series outlook after Boston holds on for a Game 1 win in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's next. In a game that goes to overtime to start the Eastern Conference Finals, you are going to see a lot of overs, certainly when the total sky's over 222. Boston wins and escapes maybe with a Game 1 victory in overtime, 133-128 over Indiana. And Donnie, when you look at the prop board last night, a ton to like if you were betting overs. Jason Tatum, game high 36 points. He scored 10 in overtime as well. Jaylen Brown, 26. Drew Holiday, a season high 28 points that included playing 48 minutes in 4 converted threes. On the other side for Indiana, it's been the story for the Pacers all playoffs long, really all season long. They score the best offense in all of the NBA, and they have 7 players averaging double digits in terms of their point output throughout the postseason. That was the case last night. Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell get into double figures off the bench. All 5 starters for Indiana into double figures as well, led by Tyrese Halliburton, who had 25. Pascal Siakam over his points prop of 20 and a hook with 24. Miles Turner, the big man, stepping out for 3 made threes. He had 23 last night as well.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Indiana's offense. You shoot 54% as a team, Ben, fresh off of a Game 7 exhausting series against the New York Knicks, and you step up against the rested Celtics with a good enough chance to win. And sometimes we take a look at it and you say, all right, unders might be a sharper play typically than overs because we always want to bet an over and cheer it on as long as it makes some sense. And even yesterday, take a look at the final score. Hey, man, you got it easily across the board, 133-128. Now, granted, you had the total in your back pocket at the end of regulation, but I went on the air multiple times yesterday and said my favorite wager is 115.5 on the over for the Boston Celtics as a team total. They had 114 before that three-point shot. And you might say, like, well, yeah, if they would have fouled at the end of the game, they would have made, no, they wouldn't have made 2 free throws. They would have made the first, which would give them 115. Then they would have missed the second free throw, and who knows what would have happened there. So that was sort of a good, and also I told you Jason Tatum, I really thought he was going to shoot 20 plus times, which he did and needed overtime, but also his points prop there, 29.5. Where do you have, Ben? 26 at the end of regulation. That 3 ball doesn't go down. He doesn't hit his prop. So that great backboard that you have for overtime on overs worked out really well yesterday if you're betting anything in the way of points.
Overtime can relieve a lot of the
Yeah.
sweats late in regulation. Both Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nemhard, the role players perhaps in that starting five, go over their points props of 9.5 for Nesmith, 10.5 for Nemhard as well. So, Donnie, entering this series, we all expected Boston to lay a dud somewhere. As we had seen in the opening 2 rounds for the Celtics, that generally came in game number 2 at home. Last night almost changes my thinking on how this series eventually plays out. As we look at the series outright price, Boston was a minus 1,200 favorite entering game number 1. After escaping with a game 1 victory, it's now minus 2,000. Indiana gave the Celtics an absolute test last night. So how does the outcome of this opening game with the Pacers forcing overtime on the road change your outlook for the Eastern Conference Finals overall?
It's a hard gauge on the Celtics. We know how good they were, Ben, during the regular season, but we keep telling ourselves, like, well, Miami Heat can't score, Cleveland can't score, so of course the Boston Celtics are going to win. Now, the one thing that Pacers don't do is play defense, but they can score. Now, here's the issue. What did we see in the previous 2 series? Game number 1 went to the Celtics. Game number 2, the Celtics lost. They go, okay, you got our attention now. Yeah. Wipe the team off the court. The Celtics got to win, and I think they can say at the same time, it looks like the Pacers just got our attention. Like, we got to be real serious in this series. So I'm interested to see what happens in game number 2. I don't expect the same type of outcome here. I do expect the Boston Celtics to win game number 2, just like we expected them to win game number 3s in the first 2 rounds. Like, okay, guys, this team is really good. We got to put our best effort in to absolutely win, which hurts even more for the Pacers. You should have won that game. It's very rare that you recover from coulda, shoulda, woulda type games like they had. We'll see what they got in game number 2. But I do think it's a fun betting series because we're going to get game to game those points numbers there in that 220 range, which is great for prop betting. And also, we're not going to see those slow down performances. Great performance by the Pacers. He just didn't come away with anything. No moral victory, man. None.
No moral victory, and I also kind of go to the other edge of that coin, thinking it could be debilitating to be that close and to truly cough it up in the final 10 seconds of regulation. Initially, if you would have asked me how this series played out, I would have said Boston in 6. I think Indiana can win 2. Even though they were competitive last night in forced overtime, I now think it's in 5. I think the Celtics in 5 might be the best bet. I do think Indy gets one in Indianapolis. I'm just not so sure that last night makes me feel that this will be a tightly contested series. I think Boston got their dud out of the way very early, in fact, in game number 1.